Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we will talk about the Universe 25 experiment. You wake up, you open your phone, food is a tap away, the temperature in your room is perfect, no one is chasing you, no one is threatening you. The world, your world, has been optimized for your comfort. Now ask yourself honestly, are you happy? Because in 1968, a scientist named John B. Calhoun built the perfect world. Not for humans, for mice. He gave them unlimited food, unlimited water, perfect temperature, zero predators, and all the space they could want. He called it Universe 25. Within a few years, every single mouse was dead. Not from disease, not from starvation, not from any outside threat. They died from paradise. Stay with me. Because what happened inside that steel box is the most uncomfortable mirror humanity has ever looked into. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let's go back to the beginning. John Calhoun was a behavioral researcher at the National Institute of Mental Health. He'd spent years watching rodent populations in the wild, and he noticed something that disturbed him. Crowding didn't just cause physical problems, it caused psychological collapse. So he designed an experiment to test exactly how much abundance a population could handle. Universe 25 was a steel enclosure the size of a large room, 101 inches square. It had 256 feeding stations, water everywhere, nesting materials always available. Calhoun and his team kept it immaculate. Temperature perfect. No disease was allowed in. He introduced 8 mice, 4 breeding pairs, in 1968. And those 8 mice did what mice do. They ate, they bred, they thrived. Every 55 days, the population doubled. 8 became 16. 16 became 32. Within a year, there were over 600 mice living in this paradise. Researchers called this the exploitation phase, pure, uncomplicated growth. But Calhoun noticed something on day 315. The population was still growing. The food was still there. The space was physically adequate. But the social fabric had quietly begun to tear. Because it turns out, a population doesn't need to run out of food to collapse. It only needs to run out of meaning. By day 560, Universe 25 had 2,200 mice. And though the enclosure could technically hold more, something invisible had run out. Social roles. There were only so many positions of hierarchy, so many nesting spots worth defending, so many mates worth pursuing, so many reasons to be a mouse. And the mice who couldn't find a role stopped looking for one. What happened next would define the rest of the experiment. Calhoun gave them a name, the beautiful ones. They were, by every outward measure, the most physically perfect mice in the enclosure. Glossy coats, no wounds, no scars. They had never fought, never lost, never struggled. They had also never done anything. The beautiful ones ate. They slept. They groomed themselves for hours. They did not mate. They did not protect territory. They showed no interest in the females around them, no aggression toward rivals, and no curiosity about the world beyond their immediate corner. Calhoun tried to reintroduce some of them into healthier environments later in the experiment. Give them fresh space, fewer mice, a chance to start over. They couldn't. The behaviors were gone, withdrawn permanently into something that looked, from the outside, exactly like contentment. Now, I need you to pause for a second and think about something. Japan currently has over 1.5 million people classified as hikikomori, adults who have withdrawn entirely from social life, sometimes for decades, living in their rooms, ordering in, consuming content, grooming their appearance for an audience they'll never meet in person. Researchers have spent years trying to understand why. Calhoun may have found the answer in 1968, but the beautiful ones were only one symptom. Inside Universe 25, the mothers broke next. Female mice, under normal conditions, are extraordinarily attentive mothers. They build elaborate nests. They retrieve pups who wander. They nurse with fierce dedication. In Universe 25, this dissolved entirely. Mothers began abandoning litters midway through nursing. Some became aggressive, biting their own young. Birth rates did not just slow, they stopped. Entire generations were raised without the most basic social bonds intact. In 2023, South Korea recorded a total fertility rate of 0.72, the lowest ever measured for any nation in recorded human history. Japan's is 1.2, Italy's 1.24. The researchers studying these collapses keep pointing to the same cluster of causes: overcrowded cities, loss of social role, high ambient stress, disconnection from traditional bonding structures. Universe 25 had all of those, and the mice stopped having children too. And then came the violence, with no external threat, no predators, no competition that meant anything. The mice turned on each other, not for resources. Those were still available. They attacked randomly, erratically, without clear hierarchy or purpose. Some formed roving groups that assaulted others for no apparent reason. Others were attacked and simply lay there. They had lost the instinct to defend themselves. Calhoun called this entire cascade the behavioral sink, the point at which a population, given everything, begins to lose the capacity to function as a population at all. Calhoun spent the rest of his career trying to articulate what he had witnessed, and he eventually landed on a concept he called the two deaths. The first death is not the death of the body. It is the death of what he called the spirit, the loss of purpose, of social role, of the desire to engage with the struggle of being alive. The beautiful ones experienced the first death while still perfectly healthy. They were physically intact and behaviorally extinct. The second death is the one we recognize: physical extinction. The last litter born in Universe 25 arrived on day 600. After that, nothing. The population aged. They did not reproduce. They did not form new social bonds. They simply waited, groomed, and died. By 1973, Universe 25 was empty. Here's the question Calhoun spent the rest of his life asking: is the first death reversible? Can a species, or a civilization, that has forgotten how to struggle, remember? Or does the withdrawal become permanent once it passes a certain point? He believed the answer depended on what he called species essential behaviors. For mice, that meant nesting, protecting, nursing, competing for rank. These weren't optional features, they were the operating system of mousehood. When the environment removed the need for them, the mice didn't retain the capacity in reserve. They lost it. Think about what that means for a species whose essential behaviors include raising children, building communities, solving problems too hard for any one person, creating things that outlast the creator, and struggling, meaningfully, painfully, productively, towards something worth struggling for. Think about what happens when an environment is optimized to remove all of that. John Calhoun did not think Universe 25 was a prophecy. He thought it was a warning, and more than that, a design challenge. He spent his final years working on what he called the conceptual revolution, the idea that if abundance removes the natural struggle, then human beings must consciously construct meaningful struggle, or face the same slow withdrawal the mice did. You can see that battle playing out right now, in the rise of extreme sports and voluntary hardship, in the return to craft, to gardens, to things made slowly by hand, and people who have everything walking away from it to find something that asks something of them, and in the beautiful ones, in every corner of the modern world, who have stopped asking. Calhoun's mice didn't die because their world was cruel. They died because it wasn't. Maybe the struggle isn't the problem. Maybe the struggle is what keeps us alive. The question I want to leave you with, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments, is this: where do you see Universe 25 in our world today? And more importantly, what does your struggle look like? Because Calhoun's research suggests that the answer to that question might be more important than any of us want to admit. Alright, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.